Hi guys, and in this video we will be reviewing the fan-made SBG magazine.
Welcome to Top Table Gaming. I'm Top Table Ben.
And I'm Top Table Steve.
And today we are going to be looking at the new edition of the SBG magazine. So this is issue 8, came out at Seven Stones a couple of weeks ago. It was the first opportunity to buy it and we picked it up. I think we were one of the first to be picking up this issue as well.
We were very lucky.
We were very lucky. So today we're going to be taking a quick look through this fantastic magazine that is written by Damien and Tom, two pillars of the SBG community. And we're just going to be giving you a brief overview of what is included.
Okay, so before we start flicking through pages, let's just have a quick look at the artwork on the front of this magazine. As we can see, we have the new plastic Theoden, painted very nicely, I must say. And he is charging into some of the new Orc resin models. Talking quickly about the photography in the magazine, which you'll see as we flick through. A lot of time and effort goes into these magazines.
So I believe.
Yeah, I've been very lucky to see behind the curtain. I've seen how it's all done, and it's not just a case of getting your camera out and snapping pictures and whacking it on the front. There's a lot of thought goes into it, and it's well worth it. So on the front of the magazine, it tells us this is the new edition special, so it's celebrating the fact that we've got new rules, as the previous edition to this was released prior to us having the new rule set. It tells us the battle report inside. There's a painting masterclass. It tells us the issue number and the time of year it was released. And it has a little preview, 4th Eolingus, which tells us about the charge that Theoden leads into the Middle-earth strategy battle game as the new edition heralds the dawn of a new age. And that's kind of swaying us into the battle report, which is inside.
Absolutely.
So without further ado, Ben, if you want to get us cracking in,
have a quick look. So in every issue there is an editorial, which is usually written by Damien, I believe. Which kind of gives a bit of an insight into what's been going on with the guys and kind of what's gone on to produce this magazine, basically. We've got a table of contents, which again gives you a brief idea of what is going on in this magazine. There's also a little model that you produced down there, I believe.
Yeah, so my injured Gandalf objective marker seems to make a bit of a starring role in most issues, I like to think.
So let's have a look at the next page. So SVG Towers is where the guys go through again a bit of a roundup of where they've been with the magazine and things that they have been working on. They also have like a little competition in every issue where you have to spot. I think in one there was number of times Alfred appeared in it. There's some was it number of Thorins, I think, was in one. So usually they kind of either set a new competition or kind of announce the results of the last one.
Just a little bit of fun, isn't it?
In this one as well, there's some photos from Ardacon, which was where the last issue, which was issue 7, was launched. And there's some photos of Joanne, who's dressed up as an Urukai captain, holding a couple of copies of SBG magazine there. And there's a little bit of an insight into the special edition that came out on April the 1st this year, which was the special Tauriel edition. Edition T, which we did a little battle report for. So if you want to go and check that out, have a look back in some of our videos. Next up, we've got hobby blogs from the guys. So there's one from each of Damien and Tom, but they also include ones from other members of the community and people who have contributed to the magazine. So for example, in this issue there is a hobby blog from James Long, there's one from Mick, there's one from Justin over in Canada, and of course there's one from Kev Lawrence, who we will be discussing a little bit more later on.
Okay, let's get stuck in even further. So the first article we come across is written by Mr. Thomas Harrison. I really like Tom's articles, very well written. You know, not that anyone else's aren't, but Tom's are very well thought out, and Tom has a bit of a more methodical sort of outlook
he
on
does,
things, which I quite like because it's refreshing for me.
Which is great, and I think in previous magazines he has very much focused on like the stats and things like that. He takes a little bit of a different twist in this one because he focuses more on kind of his feelings and his journey through SBG and when he first started with his friend Chris, and kind of how he has progressed from being somebody who was never been to tournaments and been to games before, which is for me this was quite a different insight into Tom, because usually he's more of a stats sort of type of guy, whereas this was a bit more
personal.
A bit more personal, which was nice and quite refreshing.
Yeah. So it talks about Tom and how he got into the game with his pal, and how his pal kind of came away from the game, went into farming, and how they've got back together and have started doing stuff. And there's some really nice photographs and anecdotes, and it's just really nice to find out a little bit more about these people that you see at events and you're reading about in these magazines quite frequently. So yeah, that's nice. So that's Tom's article.
We've got the Doctor's Corner, written by the infamous Dr. Grant, or Damien O'Byrne. So this is where kind of Damien, I guess, talks about his experiences and whilst gaming. And this one is focused more on the competitive side of gaming, and when he kind of first joined the league, he was doing it just to play, and then he tried to go down the competitive route and did
very
pretty well.
Yeah, very well.
I know he's kind of kicking himself on certain bits, but he did incredibly well, and then actually, because of the way that life takes you, and sometimes you just don't have that time to invest into games anymore. Kind of explains how he's kind of backed away from that to somewhat, but really interesting article, and I can see a little bit of myself in some of these anecdotes as well. At the moment I'm not going to lots of events and things, and at the events that I do go to, I want to play for fun in. I'm not there to try and win. I'm not there to try and compete. I just want to have fun games, playing with an army that I want to play with. Yeah,
and I think again this kind of touches on, it's a bit more personal, gets you to, if you've never met Damien or Tom, both these articles are the kind of thing that sort of, it tells you a little bit more about them. And the Dr. Grant thing, if you're unaware, Damien's a massive Jurassic Park fan, and way back in my early, when I first got into the hobby, and we didn't have the Facebook group and everything like that, we had forums, and we had the One Ring forum, which is still going today and is still very good. Check that out for tutorials and lots of really good articles on there.
A lot of historic stuff on there.
Loads of really cool stuff on there. But his name on the forums was Dr. Grant, and he's kind of stuck with it with this, which is nice. It's kind of a nod back to the past.
A little bit of homage.
Yeah, it's very nice. So that is Damien's Dr. Grant article. And we move on to The Art of the Wooden Spoon,
which was written by Father Justin Bertram over in Canada. And this one is very different from the Dr. Grant article, which was about at times being quite competitive. This is about being humble with your games, and it's not always going to be about winning. It's not about kind of gloating. It is about having fun, and kind of taking that value into the games, making sure that you're being a fun opponent, and even if you are being completely trounced, make it a fun game for rather than sitting there sulking, make it a fun game for your opponent. Quite a humbling article, because I think I've reading through it, I can see myself in some of these where I've been not necessarily a bad loser, but I've been sat there kind of with my arms crossed and kind
taking it a little bit too seriously.
And I guess taking a bit of a negative approach to losing, whereas this I think is it kind of there's a bit of self-reflection that can go into this as well. And actually, when I'm next playing games and I'm losing horribly, I'm still going to give it my all. I'm going to still give it my best. So I think that was a really, really interesting and I guess quite a self-reflective article for me.
Yeah, and I think just looking back at those three articles, I mean, we've not even got any further into the magazine yet, but just those three articles, they're not just, you could take from them a lot, even if you don't play SBG, just gaming in general.
Yeah.
Which is a nice touch. We flick through, and we come on to Mikolaj's article.
Go.
Build Me an Army. This is Mikolaj, who will give you, we don't want to give too much away, so we're not going to go into what he actually goes into, because this is a very, very interesting article, especially if you're into your stats and you like all your number work and things like that, and it kind of tells you how to build a more effective army.
Yeah. So the Build Me an Army, every issue has had a different a different contributor and somebody else, some different people have written the articles. So I think World Champion wrote one on the Iron Hills, whereas this one is slightly different. So rather than working with an individual faction, it is all about all hero armies, and loads of stats, loads of kind of interesting stuff and bits that I'd never really kind of thought about before, and things to sort of consider when taking and building an army like this. Really, really interesting. Now, I've not really played any all-hero armies. No. It's not really my thing. But actually, after reading this article, I'm quite tempted to give it a go.
It's got some like really, really useful information in it. Even if you're not building all-hero, I found there's certain stats. It's got percentages on the chances of rolling certain numbers, etc. I know a lot of you might be rolling your eyes right now, but trust me, I was a bit like that, and then when I read it, I was like, okay, right. So it's about stacking the odds in your favour, but in a cool way, kind of thing.
In quite a structured way,
quite a structured way, not to a point where you're trying to break the game or anything like that, so don't worry about that. But yeah, I think it's a really interesting article, and I'd be quite happy if he did some more stuff like this for possibly in the future, for future issues of SBG magazine. Definitely. I know he has a blog, Mikolaj, and if you are watching this video, please feel free to post a link to your blog in the comments below and let people see it, because
it's great.
It's a wealth of knowledge.
I have learned so much.
It's a wealth of knowledge, and it's very, very interesting. So check that out, guys.
So Mick's a very talented, very experienced player. He's been playing SBG for years. From
day dot. He had a bit of a break from it and came back probably the last couple of years.
So he's a very talented player. So he knows what he's talking about, which is great, and that's what I love about this magazine. Everything is written by people who know what they're talking about, which is great.
And he's a competitive player, Mikolaj. He'll be the first to stand up and say, I play to try and win, and it's just for someone, we're not really, because we haven't got the skill, but for someone who's not that way inclined, to read an article from someone who is that way inclined and see it from their point of view is very interesting, and it's a bit of an eye-opener, really.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, cool. Shall we move on?
Let's move on.
Okay, so we move on to the nice centrefold, which is a very nice picture, and it sets the scene for the battle report, Fog of War. We don't want to give too much away, talk too much about the battle report, because it'll take away from your enjoyment if you get the magazine and read it. But basically, we'll flick through. There's a lot of information. It's really nice to see some of the decisions that were made mid-game. And as they're going through the game, you're getting updates. It's as if you're watching a commentary, which is really, really nice. You've got sort of in-play graphics, which are showing stats and what's happening, and it's got turn counts and everything like that. You'll notice I'm not keeping it on the pages too long.
Don't want to give anything away.
You're reading it, but you can see that you've got all these stats about how they're nearly broken, and how far off 25% they are, and it is just a really well put together, well edited, well photographed, well documented battle report, and I highly recommend. Well, I'm not going to do that because you'll see.
You might see who the winner is.
And we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. So yeah, make sure you check out the battle report. We can't really say too much about it without giving things away, which is a shame. But check it out in the magazine yourself.
The artwork as well is amazing, and you can see there's so many photos there, and I gather that there are thousands of photos taken, or hundreds at least photos taken when they're doing this. So these are some of the best, obviously, photographs that are taken of these games. So it's absolutely fantastic to see those.
Yeah.
Next up is the painting masterclass with Mr. Kev Lawrence himself of Shadow and Flame.
One of my favourite parts.
Yes, because you're obviously very much into your hobby side of things. So if any of you know who Kev is, he's a very talented painter. He's very kind of well known amongst SBG circles. He has got a Patreon as well, so if you want to go and check that out, you get a fantastic painting guide. I'm a Patreon for that.
Yeah, I'm a Patreon
I love it, and I look forward to getting those through every month. I haven't really sort of attempted many of them. I've had a bit of a go, but mine don't quite turn out quite as good as Kev's. But that'll come with experience. But in this one, he paints Theoden, and a very, very fancy looking Theoden as well.
It's
a new plastic
very nice.
one.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Now, bear in mind that these magazines are written sometimes months in advance. So clearly, this was starting to be written probably, I would imagine, back in September time when the new box came out. So obviously, it does take a while for all these things to filter through. But fantastic painting guide.
It's step by step. It's got pictures of each step, sometimes multiple pictures of each step, which is really handy, because rather than just saying, right, okay, give your armour a wash, you've got a visual aid as to how that should look.
Yeah.
So you know sort of midway through doing something if yours is not looking right, and you can go back and correct it. He's very, very good at writing tutorials. I find that with Kevin. He's very, very thorough. And he goes through each stage, be it the armour, be it the fabric, faces, hair. Very, very thorough. And some of his stuff is an absolute treat for the eyes just to look
Phenomenal.
at. Yeah, really nice. Again, we don't want to give too much away, so we're not going to spend too much time on it. Get the magazine and check it out. It's awesome. It's well worth it. I think just for stuff like that, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on the back page, obviously it had the secret battle report objectives, which will make sense if you're reading the magazine, reading through the battle report, because they don't want to give it away early on as they're writing it, which makes complete sense, and it's a good way of doing it. I like that. And then on the inside back cover, it tells you how you can support the SBG magazine. It tells you how you can purchase the SBG magazine, how you can contribute to help, and just gives you everything you need to know. It's got a little bit about the sponsors, and yeah, it's just basically a thank you and a goodbye from the lads until they see you in the next issue. And that is it. How did you find it?
I loved it. I sat there and I devoured it all in one go. I find it very difficult to put down once I pick it up. What I love about this is, for a while we have, I guess, had very lacking White Dwarf content, and actually it's nice to have a physical magazine to be able to sort of just pick up and read.
Because they do release these as PDFs after a certain period of time.
They do.
So
personally, I prefer to have a magazine.
Oh, all day long. I don't think I've ever even looked at a PDF. I tell a lie. I can't remember. It was one of the early tutorials that they had, and the reason that I got the PDF up was just so I had it on my computer screen in front of me while I was painting. But other than that, having a physical copy is something that it's just nice to have
something in your hands.
Yeah.
And now I've got all of the issues up to now, and they're all weight as well. It's not printed on just like thin paper. There's a lot that goes into this. So it just feels like a really quality magazine. The writing is superb, and I know so much time and effort goes into editing this magazine. Tom and Damien quite often put up posts on the GBHL of them kind of reading and editing and having like the final read through before it goes to print, and you can just see the sort of the dedication that the guys put into this magazine is phenomenal. It's all fan made, and arguably I think it's on par, if not better than a lot of the White Dwarf articles out there. I
mean, I think it's definitely filled that void, 100%. I mean, both of us, knowing the lads personally, it's nothing to do with that. This magazine is something to behold, and not just this. And again, if you're watching on our channel, we've got guys who don't play Middle-earth SBG. It's well worth just grabbing a copy or checking out one of the older versions on PDF. I'm sure we can put a link below somewhere, just because they're just a good read.
Fantastic.
If you're into gaming, you're into painting, and you're into tactics, and you're into things that you should look at when you're writing army lists, be it for Middle-earth or anything else.
Got it all in there.
Look no further. That's it. So, I look forward to the next one.
Absolutely. So how can people pick up copies of SBG Magazine?
You need to email sbgmagazine@gmail.com and ask,
how do I pay?
Yeah, how do I pay? And they will hook you up. We'll put all the links below.
Yep.
But I hope you've enjoyed this magazine. It was a nice bit of a change of pace for us to film something like this, and I think that the lads deserve a little nod.
Definitely.
For the effort that they put into it. So thank you very much to Damien and Tom. Let us know below if you put these magazines up, or if you are going to pick these magazines up and knew nothing about them. That would be really interesting.
Yeah.
But I think that's it.
That's it.
So I have been Top Table Steve.
And I've been Top Table Ben.
And we will see you in the next video. Take care, guys.